Hello, 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 hello. It is Thursday, of course. Another Thursday, another stream. The last stream has been 2 weeks ago, which means it's time for another one because it is time for the next personal feedback session. We have done the last one, of course, 2 weeks ago, and it is time to get back into it. There have been quite a lot of submissions in the Discord, and to not to not have too many for one session, and of course it's time already. We're gonna go back and do the next feedback stream. We have actually, hold on, we have 13 submissions, or 13 people have submitted something. Some people have submitted multiple, and we're gonna go through them today. Welcome, Neo Vatten, first time catching stream. Welcome. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. Hope you enjoyed your week so far. Maybe you're excited for the weekend. Welcome back, Hustler. Hope you enjoyed your day as well. Welcome, JGS, aka hold on, my brain is done. James, hope you enjoyed your Thursday as well. Welcome, Art Gang, Amadeus, or Art Gang. Either way, hope you enjoyed your Thursday as well. Welcome, Barker. Hope you had a great day as well. Okay. Slick hairdo. Well, yeah, it's like mostly held back by the headset. The problem is my head is higher in the back than in the front, which means my headset always kind of pushes forward or slides forward slowly but surely, like and then at some point I have like this little bump here in the front, which is annoying, but not that bad, okay? Okay, yep. We have quite a lot. We have quite a few that we're going to cover today. I have calculated with how many we have today, 13, that we have 12 minutes for each. I think that's still quite a lot, or, enough to go through them. The music I chose is, let's see, what's the music called? Cartoon animation. I mean, let's see what that sounds like. So far, it's different, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. Okay, we'll see. Yeah, this is also the website that I grab my like video music from mostly, and they have the what is it the they have like themes that you can go through, and there's like an art theme, and there are different themes in that thing. So if you go in here, we can see cartoon animation, gardening, DIY, and stuff like that. Today we're gonna test out cartoon animation. You can still call me James. Yeah. I will do that. With that hair back, it looks like a Malfoy live. Malfoy? I'm sorry, I've never watched. Isn't that from Harry Potter? As you know, I'm not that pop culture. I'm not a pop culture intellectual. Okay, so I'm a little bad in that regard. New notifications as well. Hold on, you can see here. Wait, is that you? I don't know why, but for some reason I can still hear the old alert, even though it's Wait, no. So this one's is that the old one? No, that's the old one. Okay. No, hold on. Where's my So these are the two alerts. One for YouTube, one for Twitch. That's the best that I how I set it up right now. And for some reason I still hear the other alerts sometimes for some reason. Even though I don't see them in here. So, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I've utilized this little bar down there now, so that all the different alerts can be shown there. Yeah. Okay. Harry Potter was jealous. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know why the old sound is still there, but I don't know how to remove it because there's nothing here to remove. So yeah. Okay, let's get into it. Let's not waste any time. Okay. It's like it feels like being a substitute teacher in what is it? In class, you know, you're a substitute for a different teacher, and the class just tries to stall the actual lesson for as long as possible. That's what I'm feeling right now, okay? I will not let that happen, okay? We need to learn today. We need to learn, okay? So we have 12 minutes for each. We're gonna begin with, of course, the first person that has posted in the Discord since the last session, which is, if we scroll all the way up here, there it is. This one was the last one from last session. Or, yeah. So this one's the first one that has been posted. I think it has been actually been posted while we're doing the last session, but, you know, unlucky. So if you post now, it's not going to be included in the actual in today's stream. It's going to be featured in next stream. Also, what you can see here, I've renamed, or I named these folders differently now, because it's been, you know, like that for a while, but so far only James has utilized the function. If you're for example, you know, if you're impatient, for example, or you know, whatever, if you, what is it? If you become a member on YouTube, a tier 2 member, you become priority in these feedback sessions. So then you would have a 1.1, or whoever you are, you know, 1.1, which would mean that you're going to be the first one that gets their feedback. So even though if you post as the last person before the stream starts, but you're a member, tier 2 member, you will be the first one that gets feedback. Just as a little, you know, bonus, I guess. But if that's not the case, James, I think, didn't post anything. We're going to begin with the first one that, of course, has been posted and go from there. Tell me about your life story. Exactly. Okay. So, yeah, the first one that has been posted is Feijan's Chopper. There you go. The question that they had was, I need some tips. I want a neutral environment around it, but first I want to plan. Hold on. I forgot my my timer. Okay, this music is quite turbulent. Maybe we'll switch it. I feel my brain getting distracted while I'm speaking, which is not a good sign. Okay, so there you go. Nope, that's not the right one. There it is. What is it? 12 minutes. Okay. Oh, wow, last time we had 18. Crazy. Okay. I'm broke this month. Well, I mean, you know, you can utilize the benefits, or you can't. It's, you know, your decision. Okay. There you go. Okay. So, first one, I want a natural environment, not neutral. Natural environment around it, but first I want to plan the flow of the eye. Okay, so you know, you want to have a natural environment like this one here, but first you want to kind of bring the attention to the box, basically, or to the chest, I guess. Or you could also be to the dude down there, but I would guess you would, you know, want to put the attention on the chest. So let's get into how you can do that. How about we open the image and we can draw some stuff in there. There you go. So I think this one kind of falls into the category of environment. Oh, hold on. I forgot that I can't see my chat if I close this. There you go. So this falls into the environment, I guess, design or environment art category, I would say, you know, because we have the subject, and then we want to have a natural environment around it, and we want to somehow, you know, shape, or design the environment so that the thing here, the chest, is the main, I guess, the main focus point. There you go. So you already have you already gave an example, which sort of shows one of good, or a good principle to how you can, or a good technique to how you can sort of direct a viewer's eye, which is basically by looking, or by kind of including lines that go to a specific point. Or what also is good, which you can't really use here, but I'm going to talk about that in a second. Let's talk about the first one first, which is going with lines. With this one here, for example, okay, this music kind of sounds like I'm talking nothing but garbage because it sounds so goofy, but never mind. Yeah, so um, you can build environments in a way where they build specific lines, or where you can see specific lines that go to an endpoint. You can also see that when you study, what is it? Um, Perspective, or yeah, basically perspective drawings, when you are supposed to draw, for example, like a, like a realistic, um, perspectively realistic buildings, for example, in a street, for example, you have one point where all the lines kind of end. That is the horizon, or that's usually, or oftentimes, the horizon, where basically all the lines from the windows, they line up to form a line. You have the ceiling, the roof that forms a line, and then all of those lines go into one single spot that is oftentimes, the horizon a little bit lower, maybe a little bit higher, depends on, how you build it, what kind of viewpoint you have. But um, yeah, you have all these lines that can kind of come together. You can maybe see something similar here with this little lake here and the tree line that's a little bit darker. At least the music volume is low enough to not distract. Yeah. Welcome, Stormworks. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. Yep, the vanishing point. Yeah, exactly. So you can bring the attention of a viewer to a specific object, to a specific point, by including these lines that all go to a specific point, which could be the object. Another thing that you can do is, what I wanted to mention before, is basically talking about when you have people in your scene. We tend to, from what I know, from what I've sort of heard, when somebody looks at an image, they tend to look at faces first, especially their eyes. This you can kind of, I guess, use to your advantage. And for example, if you want somebody to look at something very specifically in your image, you can make all the people, for example, look at the same thing. I think that is actually the case for the Jesus painting. Is that the what's the painting again with the um where they all sit on the table? I think they all look at him when they're all sitting there. I don't remember. There it is. Maybe not. Well, hold on. What's the Last Supper? I don't remember if it's all of them or not, but yeah, not all of them. But as you can see, a lot of them look right at him. Of course, what you can also see here, I think this is a pretty good example to how you can sort of give something more, I guess, more weight in an image, and kind of lead the attention to that thing. Um, when I studied environment modeling a little bit, I also learned a little bit more about lighting and how you can use lighting to your advantage, to lead the eye. What you can see here is basically what I want to talk about, which is giving the object that is in focus like a halo around it, like as if light is coming from behind it and is kind of illuminating it from the back, or where there's like light is kind of wrapping around the object. That gives it this sort of natural outline and makes it sort of stand out from the rest of the image, because the rest is sort of a little bit lighter, and the thing that you're supposed to focus on is like in this very, very dark, not necessarily dark, but very rich, colorful sort of color. Whereas the rest of the image, or at least in the near, or everything that is near that thing that you want to highlight, is sort of brightened or a little bit desaturated. That's another thing that you can do to sort of highlight a certain thing in an image, which is what you can see here. They by they brought this light behind him as well, because he's holy. That's another thing that they probably wanted to highlight this way. But also it kind of gives them it kind of highlights him as the main attraction, I guess, in the image. Then, of course, as I said before, the people looking at him, kind of leading your eye into, you kind of look, for example, at her. Hey, you know, she looks pretty cool. What is she looking at? Hey, you see, hey, you know, she's looking at him, and then you can see, oh, that's what's supposed to be highlighted here. Welcome, Suzumi. Wait, Sumi. Welcome. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday as well. Yeah. So that's another thing that you can do. So lighting around an object can give an object, kind of lead the eye of the viewer to that object. Another thing could be, you know, if you have people in an image, they can lead your attention to a specific thing through their vision of what they're looking at. And then you can also have lines that go to that object that are being sort of mentally built through how the environment around it is, I guess, structured basically. I have older environment, I guess, like what is it? So okay, let's quickly talk about how you can kind of highlight or lead the attention to this chest in, I guess, the easiest way that I can sort of imagine, okay? And the way you could do that would be by just kind of including, you know, this could be in a cave, you know, if it's still natural, you know, it's a cave. If it's supposed to be a forest, it might be a little bit different, but I think you can still do it there as well. What you can do there is you can just add a little bit of a light shine right there. I don't want to save it. I want to add a light shine. Look at that. And we already put the focus with not only the light coming, kind of going in this direction, but what we create with this light is leading lines to what we want to put the focus on, which is this bad boy right there, okay? Yeah. Another thing that we could try is, let's see how good the selection here is. Let's see. Well, it's not that great, but we can maybe make it a little bit better. Okay, hold on. There you go. We could also now include the lighting from the back to kind of highlight the chest a little bit more. There you go. And then we duplicate this, go in here, and the light in the back. Look at that, already a little bit more highlighted. You can see the background is sort of fading away behind it, so it's not as important anymore. You can see the light right here. Also helps with the shine. What also, of course, the light coming from the front would do is it would highlight the thing itself. So what I mean by that is if we set this to screen here, there you go, and then I would draw. Oh, hello. Oh, okay, that doesn't work anymore for some reason. Oh, it does. Okay. What this could do now is it could give this a little bit of a shine right here, making it a little bit brighter, giving it, you know, more of a highlight right there. There you go. And then that could be one way you could highlight this. Another way could be by looking more at these leading lines. You can, for example, another thing that I could think about, how you could do that, how you could sort of bring these leading lines in your scene, would be by glowing keyhole. I guess that would work too. Would be by using. Oh, hello. Yeah, going in the more natural route, maybe using a little bit more, something a little bit, you know, more natural. What I mean by that is stuff like mountains, for example. You could, you know, add like a mountain here, and then you could have another one behind it. Add the mountain right there, okay? And then we have another one. This one's a little bit darker. There you go, just a little bit underneath there. You could add like mountains that are sort of leading your eye to this thing. Not only from this side, but also from the other. So we could, you know, add one right here. Look at that. Another one right here. Of course, what you can also do then is you could do the same thing again. You could add a sun again. There you go, which might look a little bit more fantasy then, but you know, you could like add a sun right here, maybe even right there. You could maybe even say, hey, the sun is supposed to be behind the mountain. What that would create is if it could be like a morning scene, the mist could come out of the there could still be mist, and the sun would rise from behind the mountains, and also because the mountains would be lit from the back, you would also again create these sort of rays coming from the side here and oh, kind of shining between these mountains, sort of on the chest right here. That's kind of hard to show, but maybe you get what I'm saying, okay? So yeah, you could. I think the best ways to sort of highlight a thing in an environment is first of all through lighting, whether it's behind an object, maybe even shining onto the object itself. Another thing could be if people are in the scene, for example, him, you could also say, it kind of leads your eye. Of course, also because the box is already so big, the chest kind of, is the main attraction in the scene. And then, lighting, stuff like people looking, and then as well as these lines leading to an object, all of that can kind of lead an eye to whatever you want to be the focus of the image. Okay, that's the first one. Hope that was helpful. I haven't done that many environment, things. I have learned a little bit about it. I've done a few, courses, aka longer YouTube videos, okay? So I'm not an expert at it, but I know some bit about it, okay? Let's go to the next one. The next one is by Y'all CGMD. They posted a first version, or I think that was an updated version. I think they posted this character before, but now they posted it again. More feedback, okay. So this one's the new version. We can also see the wireframe or the viewport version, and then we also have a few more renders here. I think what they changed from, we can actually see if they posted the last time as well. Let's see. Nope, maybe before that. Let's see. There it is. No, maybe I'm just tripping. Okay, but yeah. So they posted this character. I remember seeing it before. Maybe it was just this one. But yeah. So this one seems like they went into quite a lot of detail because they also posted a few close-up shots. Excuse me. As you can see here. I think that's what I want to focus on. Overall, the character itself looks pretty good. I think from this view, I don't really see much that I could sort of critique. I like the structure of the hair. Of course, the problem with Blender is always the the hair at the roots mostly because it's so garbage. Okay. um. So yeah, the hair looks a little bit sort of islandy here. I think you could sort of like braided hair looks a little bit different. You kind of pull from all directions, so you'd have clear lines where the sort of hair strands sort of separate from each other. But it's really really hard to do that in Blender. One idea that you could kind of think about is maybe add a texture, or maybe even draw it onto the head texture, or just kind of add another layer of mesh that could be for the hair, where you just draw a few strands, sort of kind of adding the structure that you would see with the sort of braided hairstyle. That could be one thing that you could try to sort of give this just a little bit, just a little bit more detail if you want to do that, but even without it, so it's still pretty good. So yeah, I don't want to go into the hair too much because I think it looks pretty good. We have the wireframe as well. I think the wireframe looks pretty good, nice and structured. not too many n-gons, just in sort of places where it doesn't necessarily matter too much. Of course, we can't really see the cheeks necessarily, but if I kind of look at this here, I think they're all in pretty good places where they don't really interfere with the overall, I guess, you know, if this would be animated or if this is animated, it's not really interfering with the overall. It doesn't create any artifacts or whatever. Okay. Let's go more into the details because that's what kind of jumped out to me, which is I think this image. This image looks pretty good. I always love close-up shots. The one thing that sort of jumped out to me was this very not monotone, but very you could say organized, very structured sort of pores. These very structured pores. Generally, when you look at when you look at pores, they don't really have a structure to them. And I think the best image that I can show you to show that would be one of my references. So pores in general, they don't really. Well, I guess the first thing that I want to talk about is that the pores of all over the face, first of all, in my experience, have different sizes and also different depths. Some pores are, deeper. Some pores are a little, I guess, flatter. They can also be bigger. They can be smaller. And oftentimes the nose tends to be a little more, a little, I guess, glossier, a little smoother than, for example, here, the sort of cheek area underneath the eyes. That's oftentimes where you can see pretty big pores. I think the chin also is quite smallish. It also it's different from person to person. But in general, right now what I kind of see here is that we have the same structure that we see here on the chin, also right here, where the underneath the nose. And I think that's a little different when you look at a few examples here, because the pores not only, if you kind of think about it, you have these big wrinkles on your eyes, you have these big wrinkles on your nose when you get older, and not only you get these big wrinkles, but the the pores also sort of form smaller wrinkles as you get older. So even the pores in themselves create a structure in the face. And I think we looked at it before, but I want to look at it again. I don't remember when it was. I think it was here. Nope. Here. Nope. Was it? No, it was in 2020, right? There you go. There it is. So if we look at references, first of all, we have this one where we can also see pores. We can see here the cheek area is very big. You could argue that this is not the real person, so it might be different, but you can see here the nose is rather smooth compared to, for example, the cheek area here. You can also see the forehead area oftentimes isn't that it doesn't have that many big and deep pores. And then you can see here these areas. Well, of course, there's a beard. There's a better image that we can see here. This one's a real image. But that's not what I want to look at. I want to look at. Come on, where are you? I know that you're in here. Is it not in here? I thought, no. This one as well. You can see here. This one's, okay, well, that's kind of low res. Where's the, oh, there it is. So here you can see what I mean. So this one you could argue is a female character, which may look different to a male character. Welcome, Timmy Neon. Do you mean do me if you posted your artwork? Once we start the feedback session, we all the pieces that are being submitted afterwards, we're going to look at it in the next week. No, in 2 weeks. So if you've posted it before, after we started, then we're going to look at it then. Yep. So yeah. So you could argue males look different in terms of their pores than female faces, feminine faces, whatever. And also people are different in, in themselves, but I think it's a good reference for overall a pore structure. Let me look at the other one as well, because this one sort of highlights the structure of the pores when it comes to the movement, I guess you could say, or the lines that are being created. So if you compare this one, maybe we can see another one here. Okay, there are no more images that I can look at here. Where's my, there it is. Okay, let's look at, I guess, yeah, I guess we stick to this one. This one's the best one where we can see most of the pores, or the most in detail, okay? So what we can see here is how the structure of the pores is being created. If you kind of follow these lines, of course, these lines sort of suggest where they go to, these lines. So, you kind of have to think them away. Otherwise, they sort of manipulate us maybe into seeing some lines that might not be there. But basically, if we kind of look at these lines sort of support the facial expressions or the movement that the face would make. Yeah, they support the movement or you know, the movement that the skin in that area would make. Basically, what I mean is, if you smile, you can see the skin gets kind of pushed up a little bit. The cheeks get, pushed up. All the skin here gets pushed up, which means that all of this area here around the eye gets pushed together, which creates like folding and sort of creases and bumps, I guess you could say. And these creases and bumps, as you would see it in paper, if you fold something or you create a crease in a paper, it stays in there. And that's why you would see these lines right here. This, hold on. Where's my pen? There you go. Okay, please. Okay, there you go. So if somebody would smile, for example, you would see that this skin gets pushed up because you would see that the corner of the mouth would get sort of pushed back, if you smile, which means that all of this tissue here gets pushed upwards a little bit, gets bunched up. And what happens is that it kind of bunches up right here, which means that it sort of creates these creases and bumps right here. It kind of, gets shoved together. That's how you can see how these lines are being created. And these lines are not only there if you smile, but also they sort of manifest in the pores that are sort of in that area. You can see the same here around the eye, here in the middle, for example. You can see the same here, and you can see the same here as well, and down here as well. This one down here, I don't really see it that much, but you can generally see a general flow of pores. If we compare that to update available, thank you. If you compare that to this one, what we can see here in this area right now, in sort of this area, it is very, very, monotone or very, very structured. There isn't really a certain randomness to it. There's also not really a certain a randomized structure to it, let's say. It is very, very like a checkerboard. It might not be that all these points, have the same distance from another and they are structured in that way, but it kind of looks that way because they're very uniform. There it is, uniform. But if you compare that to this one, for example, well, you can use this one, I guess, as well. You can see that it's a little different. Another thing that I want to mention is that right now, the pores, at least in this area here, I think this area looks pretty good. I think this area is fine. Same for this one. I think these two areas are fine. It's more in this area here, although there you can see some uniformity here as well, but it's not that bad. What we can see here is, I guess here you can see the most. Welcome, Coco Mob. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. The thing that I want to mention is not only that it's a little, I guess, uniform, but it's also only going in one direction. You can only see pores. It's a little different up here. where you can see not only pores, in this area, but we can also see bumps. You can see one right here, we can see one right there. So it's more three-dimensional. It not only goes into the surface, but it also comes out of the surface. That is not necessarily the case right here. I think that's another thing that you can add to sort of make the surface look a little bit more natural. There are surfaces where you have a checkerboard. Like, there are these kitchens that have these tiles that look like checkerboards. But to make them look realistic, you would add stuff like grime, or you would add like dirt or any other stuff that is like lying on top of it to randomize these checkers so that they don't look all the same, to give them a more natural look, basically. And I think by just adding a few bumps here to, for example, this area here, with this very uniform sort of pore structure, you would give it more randomness that would probably help with the overall look, which would make it look a little bit more natural. Yeah, there you go. I think that's sort of the main thing that sort of jumped out to me. Other than that, I think it looks pretty nice. Here, this one looks pretty good as well. I like the lighting with the peach fuzz here as well. Yeah, I think that's sort of the only thing that sort of jumped out to me when I looked at this. One thing that you could consider, although maybe it's not necessary, could be to, I would have to see it without it at all, but maybe just add just a smidge more subsurface scattering. This render right here looks a little waxy, or maybe that's just me. Sometimes your eyes can deceive you, but you could try it. But otherwise, other than that, I think the pores are the only thing that sort of I kind of that sort of jump out to me right now. Yeah. Welcome, Swamp SpongeBob. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. Welcome back. Hope you have a great day. Been a while. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next one is You Remember Me, of course. Why would I not with that name? Of course I do. Okay. The next one is by Offite, whatever. It is by them. This one, I guess, is the reference, and then we have the actual piece right here. Let's get into it. We also have a front and side view, which will help as well. Let's go into the main thing here first. Actually, we don't need this. I have my new tool. I'm going to use it. There you go. Okay. So here's the result, and here's the reference. Okay, this is getting kind of hyper, this music. I'm kind of I'm distracted. I need something else. How about gardening? Sounds pretty relaxing. You know what? Painting, drawing. I think that's better. There you go. Perfect. Kind of quiet, is it? Oh, no, it's pretty good. Okay. Yep. So here we have the we have the reference and we have the result. Any comments about this piece? Work in progress. Okay. Yeah. Stein already mentioned the toe area feels a bit short, and so does the sole bottom of the front. No. And does the sole of the front go down and level off like the heel? Oh, you mean like this? Oh, you mean if it stays level? Here's the front and side view. Yeah. So Stein already mentioned, I guess, the biggest thing that I already also noticed. The foot area is quite short right now, especially if you look at the side view. This one here. There's more, I guess you could say, there's more length in the heel area than in the sort of front area, whatever, the toe area. What were you making last time I was here? Dude, that's been a while. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know if it was you, but was it you that joined me when I played Destiny once on stream? I think so. Leo should probably be shaped out too. Shaped, do you mean, yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, so, yeah, first of all, the foot area needs to be longer. Yeah, you know, I don't really have a good I don't really have good foot proportions, that I could tell you. One thing that I still remember, and maybe it's wrong, but I read it somewhere, which is um, if you divide the soul in 4 parts, in quarters, the last quarter of the feet is where the toes begin. Maybe. I think I remember that, but other than that, I don't really have good, you know, um, good proportions for feet. But um, overall, or in general, the feet are longer. We can maybe look at, Roberto and see what what could be proportions. If you look at his feet, what we can see here is that you can see I guess the ankle area, you could say could be maybe 1/3, maybe even less of the overall foot length. And if you compare that to yours right now, the foot length is maybe half and half, where the ankle is 50% and then the foot is 50%. So you could probably, kind of take this length here, and just, multiply it by 2 and add that, or kind of use that to measure how long the foot needs to be to, to be proportional. We can, look at a few more examples. So what if we could look at boots? There you go. I don't want to shop for boots. I guess that works too. There's one. So yeah, thank you. Okay. So if you look at this, we can also see, if we draw a line, zip, you could argue that that's, maybe not necessarily, well, maybe the line is quite big. Maybe like this. You could say maybe 1.5 more of this to the front could be enough. If I would do this, I have made a boot, a while ago for the Chun-Li figurine. What I've done there is just, built around the foot, so I already had a reference. So if you have a reference, maybe that's a good thing that you could use. But if not, then you could, I guess, go with the sort of, we had one where it's like 1 to 2. Now we had one that's 1 to 1.5. Let's just say it's 1 to 1.75. Okay, for the length here in the front. Yeah. So, making the front area a little bit longer, which would also elongate the curvature here. I remember most shoes, I would say, have this sort of upwards curvature at the tip of the foot, or at the tip of the shoe. Let's put that into Photoshop so we can actually, manipulate it. Okay. There you go. Yeah. So the curvature, I think, is okay. It doesn't need to change necessarily. Maybe it's a little bit too steep, but maybe not. So if we make this a little bit longer, maybe if that's like, okay, yeah, maybe like this long. One more thing to keep in mind is the back of the foot, which is like, hold on, I don't see. Okay, there you go. Which is like the diagonal here. For some people it's like steeper, for some people it's flatter, but in general all people have that. So that's one thing we need to keep in mind as well. I think we need to push this area a little higher. to give it, enough room. There you go. And then another thing that I want to change is the height of the sole right here. Also another thing that we can see here is the sole, or the heel is higher than the front part of the foot, which is a little different here. Well, it's lower here, but what we can see here is it's quite flat in the back. Looking at the reference, it's a little higher in the back than in the front, like this. I also want to push down the sole just a little bit because it's quite high right now. I think it can be a little lower. So something more like this. There you go. Okay, perfect. And one more thing that I think see, it's hard to see it from this image because it's in this 3/4 view. But if we look at the other ones that we can see here, I don't see any that don't have at least a little heel bump in the back. So what I mean with that is this part here. You can see we have a little bump right there. We have a little heel bump right there. Sort of just to kind of build around the foot and not make it like flat in the back. This one's different. But even there we can see it kind of moves. Like here it's narrower than here. So it kind of goes out there as well. So let's include that in yours as well. Right now you can see it just goes flat down. I think I don't actually want to go out. What I want to do is I want to go in. Because the ankle oftentimes, or well, the ankle for the legs is the narrowest part of the the legs, which the shoe sort of tries to stay close to the leg. So it would also be the narrowest part of the boot right there. So we would bring this a little closer together to something more like this. So we get this little bump right here, kind of accentuate it maybe a little more. There you go. And then we have something more like this. Might be a little too long. Maybe not, but you could also make it a little shorter. There you go. And then we have something like this. There you go. And yeah, I think this one's a little better proportioned with the with the with the proportions of the foot. Let's look at the before and after. You can see the difference. The simplest thing I guess that you could change would be the back area here, adding this little bump right here, or this little indent, I guess you could say, kind of respecting the heel. There you go. The next thing would be to make the foot area in the front longer. The heel right now has like 50% of the overall length, but it more has like 1/3 or maybe a little more. So you would bring the front area here a little bit further out so that this front part has more room. Other than that, looking at the, I guess, execution, the technique a little more, one thing that sort of jumped out to me is I don't remember what this is called, this thing right there. Okay, thank you. This thing right here. But it is quite rough right now. I think the structure of this is okay. It may be a little thick for the individual pieces. The zipper, exactly, the zipper. Is quite big. Maybe you can make the individual pieces a little slimmer. But what I would rather change is the sort of structure around it. Because right now we can see this very, very deep crease for the zipper. If we look at the other images, we can see it here especially. See how deep it goes into the boot to make room for the zipper. I think what you could do now, because you already have so much room, is you could now go back into sculpting. If you did this in sculpting, and you would use the crease brush to bring the edges of this crease here closer to the zipper part, so that it's a little more delicate, a little more detailed, and less, I guess, rough, you could say. And then one more thing, which you can see here in the reference, the zipper ends, I guess here. There's like this ending. For yours, it goes into the sole. So that's one more thing you could change. Other than that, I think the structure looks pretty good. The this thing, you know, this the ties, whatever, the shoelaces look pretty good as well as the belts. The belts look a little loose, at least this one. It could be because of the thickness or because it's hovering over the actual mesh that is underneath it. I think you could bring it a little closer to kind of give it this tightness that it's supposed to have. And yeah, then, you know, adding more detail if you want to refine it. And the tip right now looks quite... Oh, that's one more thing we could look at. The, well, the side view. Right now, hold on. There you go. The part where the zipper connects to the boot should be bumped out, not flat. Yeah, like this little bump here around the zipper here, yeah. And then this little zip thingy at the top as well, the handle. I think you would make the boot thinner in the ankle area as well. So where we made it thinner here in this area, you would do the same, I guess, on the other axis, you know, looking from the front, you know. That's what I mean. Yeah. So reshaping the boot a little bit and then going into smaller details and the length, of course, of the boot would make the biggest difference. Okay. Let's save this. Okay, there you go. On to the next one. The next one is by Traumwelt with a new character, which is this one. There were a few comments I remember, so let's get into the Discord. Let's dive right in. There it is. Shine answered, size of the head is a tad small. Still in work in progress, by the way. Okay, good to know. He's supposed to be more than 2 meters, so it's a bit on purpose. I want him really huge and tall, even for an anime world. So my basic head proportions are according to manga style of characters, like in One Piece or such. They have a lot of heads in there. They have a lot of heads in their bodies. Okay, yeah, I know what you mean. The end of shirt belt could probably be moved down a bit and bottom stretched out a little to fit the shape of the pants a little. This area here. Okay, yeah. To fit the shape of the pants, like rotated at a slightly angle outwards, a transitional, if that makes any sense. I don't think I'm good at describing clothes. Yeah, so basically, right now it looks like the hips are sort of crushed, sort of in, or, you know, yeah, crushed together. Let's get into it. So here's the front part. So, I think you can change proportions for characters to sort of give them, you know, like a certain unique characteristic, for example, or to you know, to kind of convey a certain feeling of yeah, convey a certain feeling. I think it is quite common to give characters to make characters appear bigger. You would give them smaller heads. um, and if you want to make characters look smaller, you would give them bigger heads. Kind of relating back to, I guess, like children's oftentimes appear to have bigger heads than proportionally to their bodies, and adults have smaller heads proportionally to their body. And you can bring that to the extreme, like with a kid sort of look. You would go with the chibi, for example. They look very childlike. And then going in the other direction with very small heads but big bodies, you would have like giants or whatever. Maybe even Attack on Titan. You can see this Titna exactly. Attack on Titan. You can probably see something similar, where the head itself is quite small, but the rest of the body, yeah, you can see it here. You know how small the head is compared to the rest of the body. Here you can see these looks more like normal dudes. But then if we go to this one especially, you can see how or this one here, how they play with the proportions to kind of make them appear bigger. Same with this one. So you could argue if it's not supposed to be like a normal character. The head is quite small, but if you want to make a bigger appearing person, or Colossus for example, you could do something like this. Yeah, I think there it's quite fitting. Let's go to what Stein mentioned afterwards, which is the hip area. What they mean basically is that right now looks like, so if you look at a person, there's a certain, I guess, S curve to them. Hold on, I need to see it. There you go. What I mean is, there you go. We go from, so the body would go for this male body, the character's male, so it works. We go from wide to slimmer, where we have this area, this transitional area coming from the rib cage to the hip area. So it goes from wide where the shoulders are to slimmer, and then to wide again where the hips are. The hips, the widest part of the hips, often what you can see here, especially for male characters, oftentimes is not necessarily the hip area, but that's where it starts to get wide again. The most oftentimes the widest part is the sort of thigh area here. But what we can see is like this X shape right here, or oftentimes you say Y shape because the shoulders oftentimes are even wider than the legs for male characters. But what we can see here is the sort of X shape, where it goes from here inwards and then outwards again. Here, the slimmest part of the X shape is quite low. I think it can be higher, and that's what Stein meant. The hips right now look very, very, very low. Because because it goes from wide to slim, stays slim, and then it gets wide again. So what they suggested, which I would agree with, is to bring the belt area a little further out, because that's where the hips are. So if you look at this, let's look at a skeleton as well. Skeleton, hell yeah. Hold on, let me change my headset batteries. Okay, so what we see here is we have the chest area right here. Okay, we have the chest area. Can you see that? I think you can, right? Hold on. Okay, there you go. We have the chest area. Okay, chest area, wide, shoulders wide. Okay, there you go. We have this void in the middle with nothing. Okay, very thin. And then we have the hip area, wide again. Let's say hip area, and then we could see the same here. Zip, zip. What we see here is a structure that looks like this. There you go. Yeah, that's one thing to always keep in mind with characters. The area between the ribcage and the hips is the slimmest part. It's the waist, That's why it is the slimmest part. Because the only thing giving it its width, it is not the organs, it is not the spine, because spine's not that wide. It is all the muscles, the muscles, going from the ribcage to the hips. That's sort of what spans this area, and also, of course, in the back as well, and in the front as well. So there's like this sort of structure of muscles that sort of holds these two pieces together, and let them rotate, and let them kind of move around, basically, without falling apart. It kind of holds them together. But because there isn't really any bone structure that sort of keeps this width, it gets quite thin, especially also because all these muscles sort of go into the middle. Not all of them, but they sort of tend to go into the middle right here. So we get this the narrowest area of the body right here, where the sort of void is between the two main parts of the body. Yeah, basically. So if you want to transfer that to here, we look at this. We have the shoulders. We have the rib cage. Ooh. Okay, and then we have the hip area. Looking at this, if we would draw the hips as we would see them here, they would be somewhere over here, like this, I guess. Leaving the spine being somewhere over here. If you compare this to Mr. Bones, okay, we can see that the distance between the rib cage and the pelvis, the hips, is quite big right now. So what Stein suggests is to make the hips a little bigger, basically bringing them a little higher, making the kind of reducing the room that we have here, the void, okay? And the way to do that would be to give this area here a little more thickness. So the way we would do that is by, just making it a little wider. So you could just kind of bring this out a little bit to kind of suggest that the hips are a little bit wider. Oftentimes, well, if I wear a belt, the belt sort of is supposed to hold the pants up so that they don't fall down, if they're too wide. And oftentimes, or in my experience, they sit on the hip bones. The hip bones prevents them from falling down. So that's where the belt would sit, at the beginning or on top of the hips. So they sort of, they sit on top of them, which would make them quite wide, sort of as wide as the hips are. And it would look something more like this. So we would have something like this rather than this, where the hips start below the belt. And here, the hips start, I guess, inside of the belt, or the belt sits on top of the hips, bringing the hips higher and reducing the distance from the rib cage to the hips themselves. One thing that maybe just seems that way because of the structure that we have here and the perspective is that the rib cage seems quite slim right now. If I follow this line right here, okay, hold on. If I follow this line right here, it seems like the rib cage sort of is quite slim. Because what we see here in this area is the latissimus coming from the back. So that's why it seems like the rib cage only really covers this area. And that seems quite slim to me. For a character with so wide shoulders, the rib cage needs to be quite wide as well. And if we look at this, it seems quite slim. So maybe we can bring those out a little bit more as well, like this. Maybe make them a little rounder here. There you go. Just a little bit, give it, more volume that the shoulders sort of require. Okay, there you go. Looking at the before and after, not really big changes, but they make an impact, especially, just at the in the hip area. I think that's the biggest change. Yeah, that helps the most. And then, of course, as you said, it's still work in progress. But right now, looking at the boots, for example, we can talk about the same. We can talk about the same thing that we've talked about before with the other boot. The ankle area is quite wide right now. It doesn't really get narrower as it goes down. So you could narrow that part down a little bit as well to kind of to kind of build the boot around the ankle, which is the narrowest part of the leg. So if we liquefy this again, we could do that right here, doing something like this, for example. There you go. Okay. There you go. And then we can do the same here. There you go. Giving them a little bit more structure. And I think the upper area looks pretty good in terms of the block out. One thing that I notice right now is the chest area. It's very protruding, the chest muscles right now. In this area here, you can see it goes all the way down out like this. Generally speaking, the chests stick quite close together, so you wouldn't necessarily see a big protrusion there. If the chests are big enough, then they would sort of fall down a little bit, and you could see a little sort of, you know, bump, or, you know, you would see it kind of falling down a little bit, protruding a little more. But maybe that's a little too much. Maybe that could be because I liquefied it. No, it was even more before. So you could maybe, yeah, you could maybe bring this area here and this area here of the rib cage kind of closer to the chest area. I think that could help as well. But that's, you know, smaller details. The one more thing that kind of jump out to me right now would be that the pec area, the chest muscles look quite squarish. It could be the character's, you know, trait, that they're quite squarish. But in general, they're quite smooth because, like, because of their structure, they actually, yeah, I guess, in general, they're quite, you know, round because of how they're structured. You know, if you look at them, they attach to down here and in the middle, and then they go all the way up here. Looking from the side, and looking from the front, you get this sort of reverse, or this W shape for the line, I guess, down here of the pec muscles, or the chest muscles, leaving them quite round and not necessarily very squarish. Some people might have more squarish chest muscles, but in, you know, maybe, oh, maybe that's a little too much. I think this one, like this, it looks a little bit more natural. There you go. But so far, I think it looks pretty good. You also already included some fold, which is nice. I'm excited to see what it looks like, you know, when it's when you worked on it a little bit more. Hope these tips were helpful. Let's go to the next one, which is by Megalanius. There you go. And they made an insect. Something new that we, I think, never had before. It's very rough still, because it's my first time doing it, and mantises aren't exactly easy to animate, but it's my first character rig. There you go. With the video, of course, the animation. Hold on. So let's look at that. Let me drink something real quick, and then we can get into it. Okay. Oh, won't be any problem if we keep sending you works to review for some time. I mean, now work in progress works and soon works to review. Do you mean if you can, you know, you can send multiple versions of your piece, you know? I don't, you know, you know, every feedback session is a new session, so you can send whatever you want. You could also send the same thing again and, you know, ask for more feedback. So that's not necessarily something you need to, I guess, think about. Yeah. Let's get into the mantis. Let's look at the animation first. There you go. Look at that beautiful mantis. Shaking his head with his little head, with his little hat. So, okay. Let's get into the animation. We could, for every animation that you do, so I would suggest every animation that you do to grab references. Because if you want to animate or even just create something realistic, you should look at realistic references. So if you go for, what is it? Praying mantis. There you go. I don't want to see someone, let's see. Aggressive mantis squad. No, this one looks pretty good. Actually, no, let's go with this one. So, first of all, they're quite still because there's, they're supposed to be leaves. Well, they want to be seen as leaves so that they can sneak up on stuff, So they don't really move that much. But of course, you wanted to create animations and, having them just stay there like, hey, what's up? High five, double high five doesn't really give you great animation material. So you would want them to animate. I think one thing to keep in mind is the so one thing I think to keep in mind for animations that is important is, and that sort of dictates how you animate the character, is to kind of think about the nature or the character of that character, the personality, I guess you could say, or what adjectives that character would have. So you can animate someone walking in very different styles. If somebody's supposed to be happy, you would, they would stroll around in the park. If somebody's supposed to be sneaky, they would, sneak around and look very different when they walk through the park than if they would be happy. So that's one thing to always keep in mind when you want to animate something. That dictates a lot when it comes to the animations. With a praying mantis, the praying mantis is supposed to be very very hidden, very quick, and very undetectable. So if you are a praying mantis and you don't want to be detected, how do you move? Well, you would praying mantis are so cute. I mean, some of them. I like the green one because it has big eyes. um, if you want to move as somebody that doesn't want to be, recognized, you would do it like a ninja. You would, stick there, in the dark, in the shadows. Somebody would look in this direction. You sit there in the shadow. You want to go to this, in this direction. The guard looks in this in this area. The ninja is right there in the shadow. Then the person looks to the right. Ninja bolts over there to have as little to give the guard as little time as possible to see movement. And I think that's the same with these, mantises. First of all, welcome, Bunny B. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. Yeah. So I think the first big takeaway for movement for these praying mantises would be either very, very slow movements, or first of all, not a lot of movement, and then only really movement of sort of one or two limbs, as you can see here, especially with the green one. See how it doesn't really move, but then you can see the head moves one time and then it stays still again. Maybe the arm lowers just a little bit, very, very slowly. Oh, there you go. It already moved again. You can't really see it because, the camera wasn't on it. But you can see it kind of tries to stay still. You can see very, very small movements moving through the environment to not be seen. There you go. So, yeah. And then when it sees the prey, it bolts to it and tries to grab it right away because otherwise, it could run away. So that's kind of funny. It kind of moves the entire upper body to it. That looks so weird. Yeah. So basically, yeah, that's a few takeaways for the animation. S Small movements to give the illusion of no movement. And then if you need to do bigger movements, make them quick, basically. Um, I think that is the first thing that you could think about. So if you would kind of transfer that to this one here, to yours, you can see right now, it's kind of moving the whole time, like woo, like dancing around, questioning where it is, how it got there. And I think what could be more appropriate for this could be something more like this, and then maybe this, and then and then staying there a little bit, and then also maybe only really one limb at a time, maybe the arm up there, and then we can see the head moving, and then it stays there a little bit, and then maybe a little bit more, and then zip, and then zip, stuff like that to bring it a little closer to the characteristics of a praying mantis, I guess. Um, yeah. Um, One thing that also helps when you want to animate characters is to give them a ground to stand on. Because without a ground to stand on, it's very hard to give them weight. Um, you could also imagine a floor, but it's way easier to just, add one. Um, because, whether you think about a floor or you add a floor doesn't really make a difference, it's not like cheating. So adding a floor really helps when you want to give a character weight. This character kind of looks like right now, not only visible but also sort of in its animation, as if it's sort of floating in midair or swimming in water, weightless, because it doesn't really have something to stand on. If it would stand on something, um, all limbs that are not in the air or raised would sort of stay in place. Um, right now you can see, looking at the back feet, for example, they don't move that much, but they still sort of wiggle around a lot. So it kind of seems like they don't really have they don't have a ground that they stand on. You can solve that in your rig, for example, with IK, with an IK setting, or whatever you call that, IK bones, where the end bones determine the sort of the upper leg bones, basically, so that the feet stay in place and the legs sort of move around so that they still stay connected to the feet, I guess you could say. Um, yeah. Yeah, so basically you can give it the weight if you add a ground and, make it look like it's standing on something. Um, then also looking at the animation, making it kind of more twitchy to give it this sort of sneaky look, kind of, I'm trying to hide from you, you're not supposed to see me. Maybe also this sort of insect-like sort of, twitching that you can sometimes see. Right now it looks also a little yeah. Another thing that can get lost not only in animation but also in acting, I guess you could say, is intent. Um, if a character wants to grab a a glass or a stone, the person or the character would look at the stone, would go down to the stone, grab the stone, and then raise their body again because they have the stone in their hand. Um, they wouldn't, look forward and then just do this, except for if they know that it's there, but then you have to kind of signal that. Um, so the limbs oftentimes don't necessarily, don't, like, there isn't really something, like, you cannot really multitask. Your brain cannot think about doing two things at the same time. So everything you do with your body follows one thought process. If you want to run, you would put your weight to the front. You kind of shift your weight more forward so that you fall forward, so that the feet has to move to keep you on your feet, to not fall forward. The arms help kind of counteract the weight that's being thrown around by running, and to keep the balance. And everything sort of follows one thought process. If you want to look at, if you want to look at something, you think about, hey, I want to look at, I don't know, the sun, which means that your eyes look upwards, your head follows, or other way around, and then you look at the sun. Maybe even you move your shoulders because the sun is a little bit more to the right. Everything that you do sort of has a certain meaning, and the meaning is being created by what the character, for example, wants to do or thinks about. Um, you can oftentimes see that with people. I've said it before, but what I sort of observed, could be wrong, but oftentimes what I see is that eyes sort of um, lead the head. So if you look at people, maybe it could be wrong, but that's what I sort of kept a mental note of. Is oftentimes when people think about stuff, they steer with their eyes. So eyes only have a certain range, and if they reach the maximum, then they move their head. So if I look at the camera, I would just do this. Then if I would look at my screen, I would just move my eyes to the left. But if I want to look at my light that is right there, I would move my eyes and then my head, because I realize my eyes aren't sufficient, or my eyes can't reach or can't see it very well. So I would have to move my head. So it's like a flowing motion where you begin with your eyes and then your head to kind of look at what you want to look at. I don't think it's always that way. Sometimes what can also happen is that you fixate on something. You know that you want to look at something afterwards, or you want to move away from something. So what you do is you um, move your body first. You still look at the thing, and then you move away. So it's not always that way, where you steer, I guess, with your eyes, but there's like a certain delay with different parts of your body when it comes to how a character moves. But that is very deep, quite a lot of detail. That's not necessarily like that is not you know that important. But to sum it all up, all the things in a character's body sort of follow the thought of that character. Right now, everything moves around, but it doesn't necessarily have a purpose to it. I saw this really, really awesome animation of this dragon on a hill, on a cliff before, of an animator. I wished I knew what it was, what the where I saw it on Twitter, but I can't pull it up because I don't know where it is. But that really, really, that showed how an idle animation could look like. Um, right now it looks like the praying mantis is just doing whatever without any sort of purpose behind it. What you could think, what I mean with purpose is basically, you know, what it could do is it could clean its blades, for example, so it could bring it to the head, and then the head would kind of go around it and kind of clean it up. Um, the the legs maybe move around a little bit just to kind of in this idle position. Um, the other arm would probably just stay there, and then you do something like this. Um, all in the thought of I want to clean my whatever my arm blade, basically. Um, Giving it a little bit more purpose, the whole movement, than it seems to have right now, I guess you could say. Where it's like a baby trying to that just been born, kind of moving around without any purpose, kind of just, hey, now suddenly I can move, calibrating its limbs. That's what this looks like right now, which I guess is quite fitting for your first animation. You learn the movement of your character, I guess you could say. So yeah, but those are a few things rambling around that can help you improve the animations that you can do with the character, with this character. It seems like the maybe that's just the shading right now, but the shroom seems to have inverse normals. I think the normals are flipped out inside out. Or maybe that's just the shading right now. No, it is this room at least. No, these two. See how there's light coming from up here, highlighting this area? Here's the exact opposite. So this seems to be flipped, the normals. Okay. Let's get to the next one. The next one is by Sumi. Yeah, by Sumi. We've already heard from them, read from them. Okay. And here's the first thing that they submitted. They have submitted two things, two pieces. One of them is this character here. The other one is the eye. I think they mentioned a little later that this one was more intended to just kind of show their work, or they posted it in personal feedback, but they seemed like it was unintentional. But we're gonna still, we're gonna still give it feedback. But the first thing that they posted was this eye. What you thinking? Okay, is this kind of wireframe work? Does this kind of wireframe work on this on the front of the iris, or should it be more quadratic? So, especially for glossy stuff, you can very, very quickly see topological errors or topological problems. So if you look at this eye, for example, it's not necessarily visible here. You can see it a little bit right there. But if you rotate around it a little bit more, you can see that you get this, because of the structure that we can see here, this sort of pinching here in the middle. You can see this there's one point right there in the middle and all the edges kind of flow into it. We get this pinching point right here, which is also reflected in the reflections of the eye. We can recreate that real quick so I can show you what it looks like and how you can fix it. There you go. Okay. You can first of all see it in this here. You can see the shading. You can already see it. This sort of fan structure. And then if we go into shading, into the rendered view, make a new thingy here. I actually want to use an HDMI. There you go. If we then go in here and we make it black to maximize the contrast, we can already see what happens. That's what happens. Do you see the fan? Do you see the pinching? It's like a balloon, the end of the balloon where you blow into it. It's being pinched together because of the topology. And that's also what you would see in the eye, in the middle of the eye, or the bump, or the whatever it's called, You would see that on the eye as well. At work, so I can't stay long. Love you, Nogi. Stay safe and hope you have a wonderful weekend. Welcome, Miss Jemima. Hope you have a great, wonderful day as well. A wonderful weekend. Thank you for visiting, and I appreciate the kind words. Yeah. So we get this pinching here, but you can fix it quite easily, and I can show you how. So there are two ways. No, actually only one way that I use, okay? There are probably more ways, but that's how I do it. What you can do is you can now go in here, and we need a little bit more structure, because what I want to do is I want to create this sort of bump in the front where the iris is. Basically, nope, that's the wrong one. Here. what you can see here for the eye is that this area, the blue area, is like extending further outwards than what would be expected from the eyeball shape, I guess you could say. So there's like a small little bump in the front of it. What I mean is, it would look something if you look at an eyeball from up top, it would not only have a circle like this, but the circle has a little bump in right here where the iris is. You know, if you look in this direction, we have this bump right there. And this bump is what I want to add now. So the bump would be somewhere over here. So let's create something that makes sense here. What I want to do is I want to grab the middle. I want to push it outwards and create this bump. So we're just going to go in here, you enable proportional editing, and then use sphere. So if we move it out, it looks something like this. We can also add another one right here to kind of, you know, sharpen this. This is not perfect, but this is okay. Okay, that's enough. What we can do now is we can remove this pinching here. We can see that we have all the space to create something else that might be a little less pinchy. So let's do that. The way we can do that is we can just grab this. We can duplicate it, so we have a duplicate of this, you know, sphere 1 and sphere 2. We can't really see the first one because I'm, you know, there you go. I'm underneath it. I'm above it. There you go. What we want to do with the backup, let's make the other one unselectable. The backup, what we want to do is I want to remove all of these faces. This one and also this one. Remove them. Remove faces. There you go. Now we have this hole here in the front. How do we patch this hole? Well, we just select the edges and then we can say grid fill. And this grid fill, basically what it does is it creates a grid that fills this hole in like this quadratic, or in this sort of even way. You can see it's sort of rotated a little bit. So we need to go here into the menu here, and then we can offset it so that the line here in the middle goes straight down, as you can see. There you go. And then one more thing that we need to do is we need to bring back the curvature. As you can see, the curvature is missing right now. Let's bring back the curvature. The way we can do that is by going into this view and enabling snapping to face, project individual elements, aka all the vertices. Move, rotate, scale, doesn't really matter too much. And then we make sure that we are in vertice mode, remove proportional editing, and then we just press G once, which should snap it now onto the surface of the other sphere, the duplicate. And as you can see now, we have a nice sphere right there. And if we hide the other one, we can see, if you compare the two, number 1, number 2, number 1. Here we have this little fan area, and here it is gone. So yeah, that's the way how you can fix this sort of pinching in the middle of the eye. It copied this very tippity top peak here. I want to move this in a little bit to smooth it out just a little bit, and there you go. So that's how you can fix the pinching in the front of the eye. There you go. You could then go ahead and I don't know, go into, you can apply a shrink wrap modifier to this duplicate, set it to the sphere, and then you could go into sculpting again just to kind of fix maybe the geometry. Can I show the wireframe? I cannot. I probably can, I just don't remember how. So yeah, you could maybe even go in here and fix the geometry topology. Nope. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Okay. Do we have any wireframe here? Any wires? Oh, there it is. So what we could do now is we could go in here and kind of smooth this. Of course, it doesn't really work that well because I haven't enabled this snapping or whatever. I haven't applied a shrink wrap modifier, but you know, if maybe that could help as well, even it out even more. But that's how you can fix the eye. A few more things. Looking at an eye, we have a pretty good reference. I think an on topic, right? Was it an on topic? No. Oh, that's not an image I want to see on stream. This one. A few things for the iris. The iris has a sort of gradient on the outside. In the pupil, I think, is the black part, right? The pupil is quite sharp, the edge of the pupil. But the iris going into the eyeball, the white part, is quite like a gradient, which is what you can see here as well. You see how it kind of goes from very, very dark to medium dark, medium gray to this bright gray or white. Comparing that to yours, I can also go in here. It is quite a sharp edge right now. So if you wanted to adjust that, I guess what you've done here is you applied a shader to this maybe. So that's why it looks like this. If not, then maybe you could fix that with like a gradient, like a circular gradient, using that as a mask to create a sort of transition from the iris area here to the white part. And then if you want to make this realistic, it could also be a stylized character. But I think even then you would do that. Oftentimes the realistic parts of a stylized character in Disney characters, for example, is the Frozen Elsa. The eyes, I think, tend to be quite realistic, not in their size, but in their structure. Actually, no, they're not. Well, maybe I'm wrong. I remember they try to make the hair quite detailed and realistic. I thought they do the same for the eyes, but apparently not. So if they're more supposed to be realistic, these eyes at the gradient right here around the outside here, then also add a gradient coming from the back of the, well, if my head is the eyeball, okay, from the back of the eye in red, basically blood vessels going from the back to the front, and as they go to the front, they get less and less and less. So you have a gradient from dark red to the sort of medium red to white, all the way to the front, basically. Right now it's like pure white, it seems like, all around. Yeah, a gradient from dark red to white would make more sense, and you can go quite close to the eyeball with the with the veins. Okay, yeah, those are the big things that sort of jump out to me that you could change, and also then the veins would also add a little bumpiness to the eyeball. That's another thing to keep in mind. Yeah. Oh, also adding bumpiness to the iris is also important, as you can see here with this image. Nope. With this image. See how even the iris is bumpy? That also helps with the realism. So yeah, and you can see here the veins, how close they get to the eye. They get thinner and thinner, but they're still there. You can see the same here. Yeah. So yeah, basically. I don't remember all of it, what I said, but I hope it helped. Let's get to the next one. Oh, hold on. We also have this one. You said, this one you posted as well. I think this looked pretty good. I like the colors. You could argue maybe about making it a little more saturated, maybe only the red to kind of highlight it more. One thing that I noticed is maybe you could think about adding just a little more depth to the creases or to the structure of the character. What I mean is making the bumps, making the creases a little deeper and making the peaks a little higher. Basically increasing the strength when you would add a displacement modifier, which would do the same. Basically, for some of these creases, maybe you can make them deeper, and for some of the bumps that go out, you could make them a little stronger. You could even, if you want to do that very quickly, you could use these smooth brush and hold control. That is basically an enhanced brush that would basically, do this the opposite of smoothing, which is what I just mentioned you could do. Increasing the peaks, heightening or raising the peaks and lowering the creases. But I think other than that, it looks pretty cool. I like the idea. One more thing, the eyeball the eyelids usually stick to the eyeball. Right now there's like this gap right here. It could be because it's a zombie, he's kind of decaying, so the skin is kind of loosening up and kind of detaching in some areas. But in normal humans, the eyelid wraps around the eyeball. Okay, kind of looks like Baal from Diablo. I don't know who that is. Let's see. This guy, a little bit. I can see it. Yeah. Okay. On to the next one. The next one is by Hobbs with a character. Comments to that character. Oh, I think they're somewhere up here, right? There it is. Working on this dude, and now at stage 2 of resolution. 60 constant detail. Feedback welcome on what I can improve or what is left to do before moving up to adding more details. I think there was a comment. Is it this one? Nope. I think there was a comment. Maybe down here. Maybe not. I remember there was one, but maybe... Yeah, I don't know where it is. Okay. Let's get into this one. You need to go, Mantis. I'm sorry. There you go. So, let me drink something real quick. Okay. So, I think this is a typical case of the planes of the face. Although I think the planes of the face are sort of there. I think they can be refined a little bit. So, first of all, let's talk about the thing that jumped out to me when I looked at this character. The thing that jumped out to me were the lips. Right now, the lips, if I would recreate it, it would look something like this. As if he would like pucker his lips or kind of poke them out like this. like a duck, So I think that is because of the structure that they have. Looking at lips, we can draw 4 distinct lines. Let's grab this one actually. Or this one. This one's perfect. So there's an important thing to keep in mind to, I guess, avoid the sort of puckered lips look in sculpting or maybe even in drawing or painting. And that is to look at the structure of the lips. As I said, we can draw 4 distinct lines for the structure of the lips. The first 2 are pretty simple, which is right here in the middle, with the upper lip and then the lower lip. There you go. These ones are pretty simple. The next one is here for the upper lip, the outer upper lip line, which is this one. Quite straightforward, like this. Now we get to the lower lip. So the lower lip it's a little different. For the lower lip, what you would do is, you could just draw it like this. The problem with that is it doesn't really respect how the lips are structured. We have 2 muscles right here on the side of the lips, which smooth out this area. So we don't necessarily have a line that goes all the way from up there, from the corner to corner, but we have something that looks more like this, where you have a very distinct line down here, but then it evens or smooths out to the corner of the lip. It pokes out right here, which is why we have the shadow right here. But it doesn't have a shadow right here or right here. If you compare that to yours right now, we can see we have a line that goes all the way over here, which creates something like this. Oh, sorry. Like this. You know, where it's kind of overhanging everywhere. You know? That doesn't necessarily look very natural. So to make it more natural, you would kind of smooth out the corners or the line or the lip approaching the corner to kind of to fix that. Or even it out, basically. Remove the shadow there. Hold on. There you go. So that's the first thing that jumped out to me. And the next thing is what I just also talked about, which is the muscles going from down here. We can also see them on him, although he's quite small. Look at me. No. Oh, there it is. Focus. Can you focus on him, please? There it is. It's too close. Okay, well, let's look at an image on the interwebs. Face muscles. What you can see here is the muscles right here, how they go all the way to the lips. We can also see them here or here. Da-da-da. These ones right there. They go to the lips and let you do stuff like this. You pull them down in these two directions like this. And these create a certain volume. And that volume right now is missing right here. If there would be a volume, it would go out like a bump rather than going inwards. What you can see here right now is like the volume going inwards. So to fix that, what you would do is kind of adding more volume here and here, filling these pits, I guess you could say. Yeah. It's hard to do that in 2D, so I can't really do it here. But that's basically how you can fix most of the lips, I would say. You could maybe also creasing the upper corner or upper edge of the lip a little bit more to give it more structure. And then, yeah. Let's go to the rest of the face. I think the structure and the proportions look pretty good. Looking at the face overall, there you go. Maybe the eyes are quite high, but overall the face is quite lengthy. So I think they still are in quite a good spot. Overall, a good proportion to keep in mind for the eye position is to place them in the middle of the head height-wise. So I think right now they're quite high. What we could do now is we could, if they're quite high, what could we do? We could place them a little lower. Not necessarily move the nose lower. Actually, we can do that as well. But that kind of tweaks everything, which is maybe not the best idea. I don't know if that's better or not. Maybe a little bit. We can maybe even bring the lips a little lower, which would kind of reduce the size of the chin, but I'm just destroying it now at this point. I think it helps a little bit, makes it less lengthy. I think the lips, are hard to fix and liquefy, but I think the face is a little bit, I guess you could say, differently proportioned, but I think it helps the overall look to, just bring the eyes a little lower to bring them closer to the middle of the head. The nose right now, why is this? There you go. The nose right now is quite sort of flat on the side. Generally speaking, the nose nostril is very round. So right now we have this flat area right here and right here. You could give this just a little bit more, just give it a little bit more, a little bit more volume right here to make them more round, make them rounder, and then maybe increasing the crease for the end of the nostril here, where it transitions to the rest of the mouth, basically. I think that can help structure or give the nose a little bit more structure. I think the eyes are pretty good. We have this fat pad right here, which is nice. We have the eyelid, which is nice. We have the eyelid right here. One thing you could think about is adding the fat pad underneath as well. Right now it looks quite it looks like it's missing. I think that's one thing you could add, like this fat pad that would sit right here, which would lift this line a little higher, this one, maybe up here, and give the face overall in that area a little bit more structure. If you go back to the good old image, or we can even go into this one here, you can see it as well. These bags, you could say. You can see the same. Is it in here? It must be. There it is. These ones right there. There you go. I think you could add them. I think a 3/4 view for this, or a side view even, could help. Because only a front view, it's kind of hard to see the structure of the face. It can look very different from the side. I know a character creation meme with that. Where they create like a good looking female character, but then they rotate the head and you can see like everything sort of pulled forward, like this super long nose, super long mouth. I don't remember what the name was, but yeah. So we can only really give feedback on this. The front view, but a few things you could adjust. Just a little things here and there, or let's go to the neck real quick. Generally speaking, the neck, we have, looking from the front, two things creating the neck shape. First thing is the muscle coming from here underneath the neck silhouette, let's say. The neck silhouette is being created by two muscles when we look at the character from the front. One of them is the muscle attached to the head underneath, or like at the ear, which is what you can see here as well. This one going to the front to the collarbone right here. So it goes from here, as you can see. If I do this, you can see it. Here it is. It goes from here all the way to the collarbone. And that is one of the muscles that create the silhouette of the neck, which would create something like this. The other one is the trapezius muscle, connecting to the shoulder here, the collarbone a little bit as well, the shoulder, and then the back mainly. So it goes from here up and then around and behind to the neck, which would create something that looks something like this. Nope. Something like this. Yeah, basically. It seems kind of I think this sort of curve that we see here for this muscle is a little too wide. I think you can bring this closer just a little bit. Yeah, it seems a little too wide. The trapezius only really wraps around the neck and stays quite close to the neck. Right now it seems quite flailed out, if that's the right word. So you can probably bring this area here just a little bit more to the middle. If we could do that in here, actually. There you go. Something more, maybe like this. Small change, but it can make a big difference. There you go. Da-da-da-da. Yep. On to the next one. The next one is by Dustin Nadler. Another character. Let me drink something once again, because my throat is still dry. Okay. On to the next one. The next one is, as I said before, Dustin Nadler, whatever. Zombified human final green. There you go. There it is. Any comments? Wrong channel. There it is. Long time no see. I did this as a commission. What do you think? The hair Band-Aid looks... The hair and Band-Aid's look style don't match the person creature's skin shader. The skin is cartoonish, not sure I got while the hair has way more detail and a unique look. The Band-Aid could potentially look better with a different shader and style, closer to the stylized look of the sculpt shading of the body. Eyes are usually not that bright or pure white. If it's intended to be more human than monster, then the bridge of the nose is a bit odd. Okay. I like it. What do you like? The character? The subsurface coloring is pretty high, I agree. Yeah, it's pretty high. So, okay, let's get into it. Wait, any more comments? Thanks for the constructed quote. It was supposed to be very stylized, cartoonish, so attention to anatomy was not really necessary. And that's one thing that I wanted to talk about as well. So, if you want to do a stylized or cartoon character, I would agree. Anatomy isn't that important, but it's not like you can, I guess, ignore it. To make a human character, to make a stylized character look human, you would have to apply human proportions to that character or human characteristics to that character. If you want to create a human hand, you would have to apply the right anatomy so that it looks like the anatomy of a human hand. So anatomy is always important, whether you do realistic characters or you do anatomy stylized characters. The difference lies in first of all, the detail, I guess you could say. And also I guess you could say there's more freedom in the proportions when it comes to stylized characters. So stylized characters could have bigger eyes, they could have longer noses, they could have bigger ears, they could have, I don't know, eyes underneath the nose, maybe. So many different things that you can do to make a character still look human, but give them a more individualized look or a more, personalized look. But it's all still grounded in human or in anatomy. So you can't really say, hey, I don't want to learn anatomy, so I just go into the stylized direction, because there's still this foundation of anatomy that you need to know to create characters that look a certain way. So with this one, I think you did it mostly, let's say. Okay. It looks like a human, so that's good. You've added collarbone, neck, the head, hair is all there. I think I would agree with Stein or Steen, whatever, when it comes to the nose bridge. What you see here and what I guess the structure is okay. I think the proportions are a little bit off. It could be decision on your end. But if we talk about, like normal, regular anatomy, the thinnest part of the nose is somewhere sort of on the eye height right here. And then it flares out in this V shape when it goes over to the forehead area. Let's look at a face real quick. Let's go to face. Let's look at this. So what we can see here is that the nose, we could draw different, we could simplify this a little bit. We have the nose right here in this diamond shape. Then we have the nose bridge, which looks something like this. And then we have the forehead area. Now what you can see here is that the thinnest part of the nose is somewhere on eye height, on eye level, horizontally. Sometimes on tear duct level, sometimes higher, sometimes I think lower, not necessarily, usually higher or on the same level. And yeah, so basically we have this diamond shape for the nose. We have the nose bridge that is quite wide. The nose is the widest part of the nose. Wait, what? The nose tip is the widest part. Like, this area here is the widest part of the nose, and then it gets thinner until it reaches its thinnest point in between the eyes, and then it gets wider again when it goes over to the forehead and the eyebrows. So if we compare that to what we can see for your character, we have the nose, which is the widest part. Then it gets thin, and then it gets wide again. But the thinnest part is underneath the tear duct. There isn't really a tear duct, but if you would draw it, it would probably be somewhere over here. So it is almost underneath the iris, actually. If we draw the iris, you can see it's quite low. So what Stein or Steen, I'll say Steen or Stein. Let's say Stein, okay? It's a Dinglish word, okay? Or yeah, German and English combined. It's quite low. I think bringing it up a little bit can make this area here a little bit more natural or more realistic. You wanted to do a cartoonish stylized character, but this area here looks kind of odd. I want to see what it looks like with the forehead adjusted. So let's do that real quick. Maybe it looks better, maybe it doesn't, Might be hard to do, but we'll see. So what I want to do here is just kind of do something like this, where we bring the nose a little higher, the thinnest part. There you go. This is the after. Well, this is before. It's not a huge difference, but I think it makes a difference, and I think it helps the look a little bit, make it look a little more human. There are ways you can give your character, or you can kind of apply your own style. But I think generally styles generally change the proportions rather than smaller things like this part there. I don't know what you would call that. The transition, the nose transition, okay? Yeah, you would rather go with something like the eye size, the eye position, the eye, I don't know, different proportions you would rather change than these smaller details to give your characters like a unique look. You could also go with a very set nose shape, for example, or stuff like that. But yeah, not necessarily with like these very, very small details. I think it helps a little bit making this part a little thinner. It's not a huge difference. I think the biggest difference would be, reducing the subsurface scattering a little bit so that the red areas are a little less, And then also what James said, it's quite shiny. Skin can be quite shiny. I think this one is a little too shiny. Actually, I think what would help here would be to reduce the specularity, but maybe not maybe a little bit the roughness as well. Specularity basically, so the difference between specularity and roughness is that roughness basically changes the amount of, or the it diffuses, changing the roughness diffuses the reflections on a surface, and changing the specularity basically changes the intensity of that reflection. So if we go in here and we have a sphere, there you go, and we add a new thing right here, make it nice and gray, perfect. So what roughness does is it makes it, glossier, or it diffuses the glossiness, makes it rougher, And what specularity does is it determines the strength of the reflection. So if you do this, you can see reflection gets less, the intensity lessens, and if we increase it to 1, you can see the intensity increases. So how much light gets thrown back. So what you could do is you could make it a little less glossy, and then you can also reduce the specularity a little bit, so that more light gets absorbed than it gets thrown back, basically. Okay. Yeah. I think we could talk about the neck again. Same thing that I talked about in the previous character. It seems like the neck here is kind of detaching from the trapezius muscle. The trap muscle is detaching from the neck a little bit here. We have this deep crease right there. I think it would stay a little closer to the neck. And this area here in the front looks quite quite deep as well. I think this part here would be a little bit more filled. Yeah, I think those are the biggest things. Subsurface scattering. I don't think I don't think the materials need to change necessarily. I think what Steen mentioned was the detail that the hair, that the eyebrows and the hair, as well as the band-aids have compared to the rest of the character. That could be like a very stark contrast, which maybe looks a little odd. But I think changing the other things that I mentioned would make a bigger difference. Yeah. On to the next one. The next one is by Hustler. There you go. And we have the one and the only blend file. So let's get into the blend file. Hold on. Before that, let's go into the comments. Hair mat looks like a knitted cloth a little bit. Yeah, I wonder how they did it, because it looks so. It doesn't look like hair. Another blockout attempt. I mostly need some help with the shoulder, arm, forearm area. I still can't wrap my thick head around those muscles and bumps, especially for the forearm. Thanks in advance. Okay. I see your little meme. Just heads up, if you ever do, like, if you ever, you know, work somewhere where you transfer a lot of files, having a lot of special letters in the file can lead to weird errors, I guess. It's not that common anymore, but it can happen. So stuff like, you know, even just the like a empty space can lead to problems, basically because, you know, every PC has the ASCII table. Every letter basically has an ID, a name, or like a number, and for different PCs or different iOS, wait, for different, not iOS, for different whatever. For Windows, it could have a different ASCII table than Mac, so it could interpret that letter differently, which could lead to errors, but it's not really that common anymore. But if you want to avoid that at, you know, at all costs, then only stick to small letters, as well as like the lower line. I don't know what it's called. Empty space line, whatever. Okay. I need my tablet. By the way, one more shout out to my last video. In that, I talked about a giveaway that is still running for one of these. Pen tablet. Without Bluetooth. This one's with Bluetooth. The one that you can win is without Bluetooth. Check out the video if you want to, you know, join the giveaway. Okay. Yeah, we'll draw the winner at the end of this, or at the beginning of next month. Okay, let's begin. That's the wrong one. Okay. So, why is it lagging? Nobody knows. There you go. Okay. You wanted to have help with, get help for the shoulder, arm, forearm area. Okay. So let's focus on that. So in general, we have different muscles in this area. Let's talk about the front part first. So the main muscles, or the biggest muscles going to the shoulder, come from the back and, I guess, the chest, from the ribcage, let's say. And that is, one of them is the, hold on, can I draw here? There you go. Okay. One of them is the chest muscle, right here. Okay. That goes to the shoulder. The other one is the trap, that is right here, also going to the shoulder. There you go. Okay. So those are the biggest muscles that go to the shoulder. Another one that goes there, actually, yeah, there's one more that's even, maybe has a more impact on the shape, especially on the in the armpit, which is the trapezius. The trapezius is all the way here. It's this wing-like muscle going all the way, attaching to the spine all the way here, and then it goes out and goes into the inside of the shoulder right here, because it needs to connect to the bone, the upper arm bone. So I can't really draw that here, but if it would be like an X-ray, it would be like, if this would be the bone, this muscle tries to connect to this bone. Ooh. So that when it contracts, it shortens. So it pulls this muscle. If it would be up here, for example, it pulls this muscle down, so it would rotate it downwards. This muscle here. And that is also what creates the V shape in very muscular characters. wings basically, because it looks like this. Those are the biggest muscles coming from the rib cage. Then of course we have the smaller muscles, the 3 smaller muscles, the shoulder themselves. That sort of, if we have the clavicle, or the whatever it's called, right here, and then we have the upper arm bone right here, with the ending being this round ending right here, so that it can rotate, in all directions. Covering that is a muscle, 3 muscles that attach to the clavicle. We have the front shoulder, we have the back shoulder. Well, there you go. And we have the middle part of the shoulder, the middle shoulder. And they look something like this. Okay. This one is a little short, maybe it could be more here. Okay, so we have the front area, we have the middle area, and we have the back area here. Building the shoulder, wrapping around the bone underneath it. The shoulder bone structure, I guess. It's not only one. So what we have here then is the structure going like this, So we have this coming from there, the chest. We have this coming from here, and we have the trapezius, latissimus. The shoulder covers all of those muscles. So if we look at the chest, for example, the chest goes also to the upper arm bone, because what the chest does is it moves the arm to the middle, like this. This is the end. Bringing the arms into the middle, in front of the body. That's the movement of the chest muscle. So it needs to connect to the arm bone. The shoulder connects to the arm bone as well, but somewhere over here on the side. So the shoulder muscle covers and goes over the chest muscle. Same for the trapezius here. These two here, the latissimus. The trapezius is sort of next to the shoulder. It's not really overlapping. What we then have is the biceps right here. Right there. Okay. That one also goes underneath the shoulder. That one tries to go to, I think, the clavicle up here. So it goes all the way up here. Same with the triceps also goes up. There you go. And then we have the forearm. For the forearm, we have 2 main muscles, which end right here in this triangle, or which connect in this triangle. So the easiest thing to draw for the forearm is this line right here, where we have the distinction between the 2 muscles. We have 2, I guess, I always separate the forearm in 3 pieces. We have 2 main muscles, and then the last area in between the 2 is basically the area with multiple small muscles. The first big muscle that we have here is this one right there. That goes, all of the forearm muscles go to the upper arm, but you can see it right there, the bigger one, which is going up here, and then sort of like this, just on one side of the arm. There you go. So it fills this area. Looking at the reference so that I don't... Yeah, there you go. Okay. It can go a little further in here. There you go. So that's one side. And then we have the other side. does something very similar. It also goes quite high here, like this, in between the biceps and the triceps. And it also goes out like this, and then in again, like this, so that it covers this area here. So we have these two muscles sort of covering 2/3 of the arm. And then what's left is this area on this side. Let me remove all the rest, so we can actually see what happens. So the main area, is covered by these two muscles. But then we also have the middle part right here. That is the last part. We have the elbow, and then we have the last piece. The last piece is being it's basically multiple muscles that are basically there for the fingers. We have 4, if I remember correctly. Well, it's hard to say 4. They're like they split up into even smaller ones, but we have 4 main muscles here for the fingers. The thumb is like on the side here, so that's sort of covering the area right here. But for the fingers here, because the thumb is not a finger, we have 4 main muscles coming from here, going all the way to the wrist, and then to the fingers themselves. That is the main thing that sort of fills the volume here in the middle area, where the other 2 parts are not. I guess the third part is being covered by mainly these 4 muscles. And then we have one more that is kind of weird, which is here on the elbow. We have this little muscle that sort of looks like a triangle that looks like this. Kind of weird, but it looks something like this. I don't remember exactly what it's for, but it doesn't really make a big difference. But if you have a very lean character, then you would see it. There you go. Yeah, it's kind of with especially this pen is kind of hard to draw it, but that's how I remember the structure of the forearm. I never really tried to do sculpt a ultra realistic and detailed forearm, so I never really looked too deep into the forearm structure. But the main thing that I remember is, or that I keep in mind, is the line right here. This triangle for the biceps, so the biceps goes in between the 2 muscles right here. We have the same triangle right here, because this muscle goes in between the biceps and triceps right here. Same triangle do we have here for the other part. Then this one here is just doing like this little sweetie swoop all the way to the wrist. Same for the other one. I think this one is a little bigger, going all the way here. And then the last part here, we have this little thing right there, and then we have 4 muscles. I think there's like a smaller one on the side as well for the thumb, that looks like this. It's kind of rough, but I think it's I hope it was understandable. Yeah. There you go. Perfect. I would have sculpted it in maybe afterwards, but unfortunately the time is up. We need to get to the next one. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Other than that, I think the character looks pretty good. Yeah, nothing that I see that's sort of popping out to me right now. On to the next one. The next one is by Retopologizer. They made a skeleton. Ooh, spooky, scary. Is it Halloween already? No, it's not, but we're already we already are being greeted by a skeleton. There it is. I'm pretty sure I got proportions wrong. Let's see. On first sight, it looks pretty good. Let's compare it to a real skeleton. One thing to keep in mind is the perspective. Seems like I make fewer and fewer mistakes. That's how you learn. Making mistakes and learning from them. Seems like he did that quite a lot, so good job. Okay. Let's go to skeleton. Skeleton, I did it again. There it is. Mr. Bones once again. So, it's hard to, in this angle to determine proportions that well, just because the perspective changes, the proportions a little bit. That just makes it harder to determine whether or not something is long enough or not. One thing that I see that jumped out to me is the shoulder bone. The shoulder bone here is quite round to, give it this flexibility, give it this ball joint so that it can, rotate in all directions. Here it looks like it's like Lego stuck in a socket. I think that's one thing you should change to, to a round shape to make it more anatomically correct. Will the stream be archived into the other channel? Still don't see the last feedback stream. Yeah. I didn't upload the last one because I forgot. But you can always also watch the older streams in a playlist on this channel. It's in a playlist that is I unlist the streams and put them in a playlist. So if you ever want to re-watch any streams, you can go into that playlist and watch all the streams. So they're still available on this channel, but not visible in the, I guess, video section. Yeah, but I think I'll upload this one to the stream. I mean, to the archive channel as well. Okay. Yeah, the first one, shoulder, looks kind of Lego-y. The next one, I think the elbow looks a little different as well. Yeah, there are no holes in this one, and the joint is this. I don't know what you call this joint. It's like we have this sort of round cylinder shape, and then we have this cup surrounding it that sort of slides on one axis. That's what you can see here. Here it looks like it's sort of interjoined, kind of joined together a little bit. I think that you could adjust that a little bit. The vertebrae, the little arms on the side look a little different. Not less pointy, more like paddles, I guess you could say. I think the hips can be a little more voluptuous as well, a little bigger here. The joints, you can see how big they are here. Here they are quite thin. Same for the knees, maybe even. Knuckle. What do you mean with knuckle? The knuckles look pretty okay. Yeah, I don't see anything for the knuckles right now. One more thing that jumps out to me is the outer bone for the calf. maybe it's just this angle, but it looks like they're quite far apart from the main bone here in the middle. I think it's like sitting sort of underneath it. It's like the big main bone creates like a roof up top, and then it's sort of standing underneath it, secure from the rain. Um, it's different here on the side, but up top it looks kind of like that, as if it's almost like if it's merged together. Here it's kind of it's okay on at the bottom here, towards like next to the bone, but I think it would be a little different, or it looks different at the top, where it's sort of underneath it, kind of taking shelter. The last thing that may be that I sort of see right now is the side here of the foot. No, I think the toes can be a little wider apart. Um, right now they go just straight forward. I think they can spread out just a little bit more. Maybe even the toes, the outer toes, the small toe can have like a slight curvature to it. And then the end here, this looks quite wide right now here. This little bump. It could be the perspective, but it seems like it's a little too wide. I think it can be a little slimmer. Push it in a little bit more. The skull looks pretty good. I think the skull looks nice. Nice smile right there. That's a winner face if I've ever seen one. Yeah, I think those are all the things that I see right now. The length for the arms looks good. 50-50 for the arm length. Although this looks actually longer. I don't know if that's... Yeah, the upper arm looks a little longer. But it's not a huge difference. Legs 50-50 as well. Looks pretty good. Maybe the knees are a little too high. I don't actually know. I think it's a good height. It doesn't seem off. Yeah. Okay. I'll see you, hustler. Hope you enjoyed your stay. Have a good night. Yeah. I think that's all really. The paddles, the spikes on the vertebrae, the shoulder, making him rounder, less Lego-y. The elbows, making them more like this, Um, and then putting the smaller bone here on the calf underneath the bigger one in at the top. And then the hip bone can be a little bigger too at the top, maybe even at the bottom. Other than that, it looks pretty good. I think that looks nice. Yeah. So just a few adjustments, and then I think you're you're there. You've achieved a good skeleton. Yeah. Not much really more. I think the proportions look pretty good. Let's go to the next one. The next one is by Steen. Stein, whatever. Stein. They submitted two pieces. One of them is this one, and the other one is this one. Let's go to the first one. A hand grabbing earth. Pretty rude. Hopefully they asked. We have this little entrance there. I don't know what that is, but we have it there. And yeah, first of all, I think it looks really nice. We have a good focus here for the hand, as well as the earth, being in focus because of the light, highlighting the hand, not necessarily the arm. So we have a nice focus on the earth and the hand. It also looks like it's in the left third, or yeah. So it kind of gives it this nice distribution. overall, I think the structure looks pretty good. Like the materials look pretty good. The fingers look a little contrast less, you could say. You know, the wrinkles are quite flat. The fingertips, the creases here for the fingertips are quite smooth. They could be a little stronger, you know, but you know, small details. There's something that there's one thing that I wanted to. Oh, one more thing that I wanted to mention is the atmosphere. Maybe that is, you know, maybe this is like a model that you have or got somewhere, or maybe you did it yourself. You know, um, it has a very sharp ending here around the edge or the silhouette. Maybe I'm wrong, but if we look at a Earth an image, um, of course we can see the atmosphere, which creates this gradient from this earth, like this the earth terrain to this white, and then to this fading to black or dark blue. Of course, the further away you are from the surface, the smaller the gradient will become. So at some point, it probably looks like it's sharp. Um, but we still have a slight little gradient visible even in this one here. I think this one represents the size of your image quite well, and it has a very, 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 very slight and small gradient. So I think this is okay. We have a slight gradient here. Um, yeah, so maybe you don't really need to adjust that. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I just remember that you always need to keep in mind that there is an atmosphere, and that it affects the silhouette, but it from that far you don't really see um like any like a gradient, you know. Hold on. Why do I not see the do I need to reset this? No. Cancel. Do I need to do this? I don't see the alerts for some reason. Maybe they're on Twitch. Let's see. There you go. Activity feed. Oh, welcome Migmant for the raid for the host. I appreciate it. A few seconds ago, okay, I switched to the right one. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Hope you enjoyed your stream. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. Thank you for raiding, thank you for hosting, and as I said, welcome. As you can see, we're doing a feedback session. People have submitted their posts in my Discord, and we're going through them. This one is the current one that we're looking at, and if you have any feedback that you can give, you know, feel free to give it. Or if you want to get feedback yourself, you can join the Discord and post your own pieces. !Discord to see the link. Yeah. Well, thanks. I appreciate the host. I hope you had a great stream. Yeah. So I think there's one more thing that I wanted to talk about for this image. I wanted to talk a little bit more about this one, which we're going to get to in a second. But I wanted to talk about something that is kind of hard to. I don't exactly know why it is the case. There's a certain way the game Destiny 2 creates lighting in galaxies. So if we kind of think about galaxies, you know, there's a lot of dark, there's a lot of black, and very little light coming from somewhere. You could say it's fantasy, you know, not necessarily realistic, but if we look at, for example, there you go. Do we have, there it is. This image, especially. The, or this one. No, this one not necessarily. But the problem is, or the problem that they had to solve is that the they placed blank triangles, blank pyramids, or tetrahedron, whatever you want to call them, in space. So black on black. So they had to put something behind it. And what they oftentimes do is they place a light somewhere in the scene to give one side of the object that they want to show light. So this one is actually nothing because it's darkness, so it absorbs light. But the to kind of distance or to kind of remove the object, the triangle, from the background, what they've done is they've added this sort of Milky Way sort of structure behind the object to make actually the background brighter than the foreground, than the object, which separates the two. Maybe you could think about that here as well. Although, if you look at realistic space photography, see, like pure black, and then we have this the Earth could also be because of the exposure. Is that the right word? If you need to crank down the exposure quite a lot to not only have because the sun is so bright, the reflection of the Earth is also very bright. So you need to bring down the light intensity or the light that the camera receives quite a lot so that you don't only see white on Earth, so that Earth isn't just pure white. You need to bring it down all the way or quite a lot. So that probably creates that probably reduces it so much that all the other stars are gone, basically. Which is how you get these images with just pure black around the Earth. But if you kind of look at other photography here, for example, you can see all these little stars in space, but you don't really have these nebulas or these things here all over the, all over space. So it maybe doesn't necessarily make that much sense to add it here, but you see it as like a stylized, like a style that you could follow if you wanted to. One thing that I notice is that the back of the Earth, if we kind of go back to this image here, the back of the Earth still has light. I guess that is because of the arm that is right here, reflecting a little bit of light to the back of the Earth as well, which is why the back part of the Earth up here is black, but down here we still see a little bit of light. I guess that's okay. I'll accept it. It's not like it is wrong or anything. If the hand wouldn't be there, the back would be black, and that would be just like this one. So yeah, nothing to complain there. Yeah, the only thing that I really think you could consider changing would be the depth of the creases for the fingernails and the the knuckle folds, I guess you could say. Let's go to the second image real quick. For this one, I think this one looks really, really nice. Looks very calm. I like this image a lot. I like this effect that you can see here. I don't remember what the name for it is. You learned it in graphic design. I don't remember it. This sort of these lines create this weird illusion. I don't know if you can see it as well, but yeah, never mind. Okay, let's get to the rest of the image. I think this looks really, really nice. It looks pretty realistic if you look at it from further away. But if you go closer, you can see some things that are lacking, I guess you could say, for it to look realistic. First thing maybe you could say is that this looks quite blocky, quite geometric. I guess this thing would be quite smooth in real life. I think the textures help a lot in making this look pretty realistic. I think what is missing right now is not necessarily something in the geometry itself, but more in the surface of that geometry, and that is some imperfections. Everything looks pretty perfect right now. Whether you look at your own walls, or maybe you go, it looks like a like a school, like an old school room. Um, Nothing is perfect. And that includes stuff like the floor, stuff like the wall, stuff like this board here, whatever that is, stuff like this thing, even the pens. You can go into a lot of detail when it comes to imperfections. But to make this image basically look realistic, or very realistic, because it already looked quite realistic, you would now go into adding imperfections. What you could do, for example, for the floor is adding just even just adding a random texture, a procedural texture, to add small variations in the roughness, making it maybe glossier, maybe making it rougher in some areas, can really help make it look, uh, give it this give it more randomness and make it look a little bit more realistic. I think this edge here, this corner, is quite sharp. Maybe you could bevel that just a little bit. Down here, maybe even you thinking about how this is built. You have these sheets of floor carpet. They probably wouldn't just merge together. They would probably either, it could be just one, and then you would get this sort of smooth crease, beveled crease. Or it would be a crease going inwards because you have these two sheets being put together. Um, Stuff like for these surfaces, I guess the easiest way to add more variation would be with a roughness map, procedural, for example, with just noise, giving it more, could you're making it less or more rough, I guess. And then also stuff like bumps, scratches, and stuff like that. Um, yeah, I think if you add that to all the smooth surfaces that don't really have a texture yet, and even just the things that already have a texture, um, would make this, bring this even higher into realism, I guess. Bring the realism a level higher, I guess. I oftentimes, if I want to create photorealistic shaders, I try to fill all the main sockets in the principal BSDF node. So color, roughness, um, maybe even specularity, and bump. Color, roughness, and bump are the main things that I try to change to make something realistic. Yeah. Just wanted to say thank you. Thanks for all the content on your channel. Really helpful. I appreciate the message. Thank you. And it's nice to hear that people enjoy the content that I put out. I appreciate it. Okay. The music is stopped because we need to extend the playlist. No, there are no more songs. Okay, let's go to another one. How about graffiti and street art? Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Yep. Just small details that you could change to enhance the realism, just just a little bit more, to almost perfection. You can never reach perfection because the way to perfection is exponential. So it's like a tangent. I think it's called a tangent, where the graph goes closer and closer to zero, but it never reaches zero. That's the same with achieving realism. There's always something more you can do. Let's go to the next one. Welcome Valchrome as well. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday, and hopefully you are excited for the weekend. On to the next one, which is by Art Gang. There it is. Been here since the beginning. Now finally, his piece. We're gonna get to it. As I said in the beginning, if you have been waiting and you want to be the first one that gets feedback on these feedback sessions, you can join as a YouTube member. And tier 2 will give you priority in these feedback sessions, so you would be the first one that gets feedback before anyone else. So if you're interested in that, yeah, you know, there's a little perk that you get. Added some extra angles in the Discord. Okay. First of all, what were the comments? Gazelle upload a screen render of my current project. Just finished remaking her arm. Okay. So you made this character with this mechanical arm. Oh, so it actually has more details now. Okay, okay. There you go. And there you go. Okay. First of all, let me take a sip and then we can begin. Okay. So, some more views. Okay. So, the character looks pretty good. It So, you know, I'm guessing you want to go for a stylized character. That's what it looks like. And I think all the pieces have similar levels of detail. Okay, Neo Vanton, thank you for joining. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah. The I think the arm kind of jumps out in terms of level of detail, but I think you can also just add more detail to the rest of the character to kind of make up for that. The one thing that I noticed is it may just be this angle. Kind of hard to see with this white color, but could it be the case that the could it be the case that this hand only has 4 fingers, the thumb, and then, well, 3 fingers, the thumb, and then the 3, you know, fingers right here. Whereas the other arm hand has, you know, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So could that be the case? You know, it could be. Yeah, maybe that was intended. Another thing that jumped out to me is that these two could also be just a one, because it seems like this middle piece here, this knuckle, looks like it's a one piece. So which means that it actually there are only 2 fingers and 1 thumb. Maybe. Yeah, it seems like these two are connected, because there's not like a crease that I can see here in the middle. Could just be because of the resolution, but yeah, that's what it looks like right now. But I'm pretty sure that we only have 3 here instead of 4, so we have 1 less finger. Could be, you know, going for a scrapped intentional. Okay, for a scrapped look. Okay. Yeah, they're connected. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. I think the scrapped looks pretty. The scrapped look looks pretty good. I think you can really sell the scrapped look by adding color. You know, color, giving the different pieces different colors really helps with the overall look, or it supports the look that you want to create. Only really, like, you can also give the piece different styles to make it look like it's been like bundled together, you know, kind of getting or taking whatever you can get and building this arm. You know, you can do that. You can show that by creating different styles for the cables, for example, or for the pieces. You can also do that with the colors. maybe even with the material or the surface of these um, of the pieces. So one few could be very clean, very smooth. Other pieces could be very rough, maybe even rusty already, to kind of sell that look. I think you one thing to always keep in mind when you want to do mechanical pieces or mechanical um limbs, for example, is that you keep the mechanics of the arm in mind. You know, or like yeah, always keep the mechanics or the mechanics in mind that the arm is supposed to do. If you, for example, recreate a mechanical arm, you want to create an arm just, as a robot, you need to keep in mind how the arm can move and how you make that movement possible with um your mechanical arm. So making sure that the joints, I guess, the mechanical joints are similar to the ones that we have in a human arm. Different joints for the arm, for human arms would be like we have one that is like round, and then we have this cup over it, which creates this free movement in all directions. Another one that we have is this sort of cylinder shape with a cup underneath it, which lets you do rotation on one axis. I think there are more, but these are sort of the main ones. There are like sub categories as well, where you have a few that can do this, but also rotate in two axes. They're like more than just two or three. But those are sort of the main movements that you need to keep in mind when you create these mechanical pieces, and how they are like how they exist in the real arm, I guess. Cables might be a bit too much. I think for this contrasting or comparing it to the style of the rest of the character, it might be quite detailed. I know, you can get quite carried away with adding detail to a piece. But you can also, kind of bring the rest of the character up to par with the level of detail of the arm by, for example, adding like making the clothing very detailed, making I don't think the character itself needs to be very detailed. Maybe even the hair very detailed. I think the skin can be quite soft and can be quite stylized as long as other pieces are um have more detail. I think then the arm doesn't look that out of place. Yeah. I, I, it happened to me quite a lot as well, where you kind of get carried away with detail. Um, yeah, but that's one thing to keep in mind. Or one thing you could do to kind of, um, level out the amount of detail that you have, or kind of bring the style together so that there isn't like a stark contrast between the two. Realistic clothing texture. Um, I don't think it's necessarily I don't think a clothing texture does the trick. I think you need to make the clothing itself detailed as well. So the texture can help, but I think what's more important is the structure of the clothing. Um, what is the Mac? Hold on. Disney movies 2020. Oh, hello, hello. 2022. Um, clothing at Disney. What is the name of this one again? I don't remember. Please tell me the name. There it is. Encanto. There you go. So Disney, what they do is they give their characters realistic hair. They also give their characters realistic clothing. Look at those clothes. um, look at those. So it doesn't. A texture can help, but a texture is more like a support. If you have a very detailed texture, but the structure of the actual model doesn't look as realistic as the texture does, then the texture just looks off or, yeah, misplaced. The model itself needs to represent or needs to be on the level on the like the model itself needs to have a similar or the same level of detail than the texture to not make it look weird, you know? Why would you have a very, very ultra realistic texture on a very blocky and very smooth model? You know, they contrast each other and look kind of weird. So if you want to create realistic clothing, you also and you want to add like a realistic texture, you also need to make sure that the model itself has enough detail to, I guess, complement the texture. You can see it here, for example, with these nice seam lines here that are kind of broken, or the edge here. Same with the surface, of course, being created by the texture. Even some hairs here, these little threads poking out. Yeah, not only the texture is realistic, but also the model itself. And you can see it works because the character is very, very flat and very stylized. Not flat in terms like the surface is flat. There you go. Grüße aus Ölpa. Was geht ab? Welcome. Yeah. Triangle is a weird name. You know, I don't know who that could be, but welcome. Grüße zurück. Yeah, that's how you could, I think, balance the level of detail quite well. Let's go to the last one to round out today's feedback session with the last piece, which is this one. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Last one is by BG Mars, BGS Mars, whatever. Welcome, Mats. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. Let's go to the last one. Current personal project right now, still far from finished though. Please burn me into ashes. I think I remember the original image actually. I don't remember where I saw it. I think on Pinterest, but I don't remember the actual you know, I don't remember, you know, I can't really find it now. But I remember the image. Let's look at the I think this one looks pretty good. In this, you know, I like the scythe. It looks very detailed, looks very nice. I think, you know, texture could be enough to give it enough detail. Maybe a little bit more. The staff could maybe, actually no, I think it works here. Maybe it looks a little blocky. You could maybe smooth out the adding a subsurface subdivision surface modifier to smooth it out a little bit. Let's go to the anatomy. I think the anatomy is the thing that I want to focus on. So there are two main things that jump out to me. No, three. First one is the neck area. To see the muscles here that come from the ear and go to the clavicle here in the middle, you need to really stretch your neck to see them. As you can see, if this piece here flexes, it pulls the side of my head to the middle, and which is when you can see this muscle. If I don't flex this muscle, it's quite you can't really see it. So especially for female characters, you very rarely see that muscle at all. So if you go for female face, what you can see is you don't really see that muscle at all, except for the end down here, where they connect to the clavicle bone. You know, it you can see it there, but anywhere else, it's not really there. It kind of merges with into the neck. So I think the first thing that you could adjust is this here. It's very, very pronounced right now. I think you could adjust it to make it, only, smooth it into the neck. Right now, it's very, very refined. I think it's too refined right now. That's the first thing that jumped out to me. Except for, keep in mind that she rotates her head in this direction, which means that the muscle, I don't remember what the name for it is. The muscle on the left side of her head would be visible because she's rotating her head like that far over. You could look at some references where people look to the right to see if for female necks it is visible if they look to the side that far or not. I don't really know if that's if that makes it more visible. I would imagine so, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Oh, there you go. I guess, yeah, you could see it. So, I think this is a pretty good reference. That you could look at. That's the first thing. The next thing that I see is the hip rotation. Hips very often react to the weight distribution. What you can see here is that the character, it seems like, has their left foot lifted off the floor, which means that there's no weight being put on that leg. All the weight is being put on the right leg, which means that, the earth presses against it, like this, presses against it. The other leg has no pressure on it, which means that the hip gets pushed from this leg upwards, like there's movement right, or there's pressure right here, but there's no pressure on the other side, which means that the hip from its neutral state, horizontal, tilts a little to the left side. Because it stands here on this leg, but it doesn't stand on this leg. So this leg can hang a little bit more. Which means that the left side of the hip right here would probably be a little lower. I think it's pretty uncommon to raise the side of your hip that isn't standing on the ground. Right now, the other side is lifted. The left side that is off the ground is lifted. So I think switching the two sides would make sense here. You probably then would have to angle the leg a little bit more, but maybe that could even make the pose a little bit more dynamic. The last thing that jumped out to me was the shoulder blade area, or the shoulder area. Looking at the side view here, the shoulder looks very sharp here. We have this very sharp corner right there with this edge. I think you can smooth that out a little bit more. Can we see? Hold on. That's why I have my own board here, because then you can just go into the body references, hopefully. Actually, yeah. Female fit, for example. Do we have a back shot anywhere? We do. Oh, there it is. Well, that doesn't really help us. I wanted to have like a relaxed back. Female back. Oh. So, they all raise their arms. Why? There it is. That's pretty good. Oh, that's pretty cool. So, yeah. Looking at this, it seems like the shoulder blade area is kind of missing some volume. The shoulder blade isn't necessarily like the flat part of the shoulder blade isn't necessarily what is visible. What is visible is the corner. You can see here with most of them, you can see this little this L shape, like I guess inverted L shape. right here. L like this. L, L, L. You can see it here as well. So we always see the edge of the what is it called again? The shoulder blade. But we don't see the flat part because the flat part is being covered by muscles. There are muscles attaching to the flat part, and that kind of, helps you move in certain ways. So you can see the same here as well. For him, you don't really see the shoulder blade. There's nothing flat here. There are muscles covering the shoulder blade. But what you see is this nice little L shape right here. So even with this dude, we see the L shape, but we don't see the shoulder blade flat part, the surface, I guess, because it's being covered by muscle. Right now, for yours, it seems like we can see the flat part of the shoulder blade. I think kind of just easing the shoulder more into the back can help, solve that problem, which would resolve this sharp edge right there and make it look more natural. Also, you would probably then have to increase the crease right here, increase the crease a little bit to still show, the shoulder blade edge, I guess. Other than that, it looks pretty good. I think one more thing to keep in mind is that female bodies have a little bit more often most of the time more fat, which means that their features are less defined. And one area where it's maybe a little bit too defined is the area right here. There we have these very deep triangles right here. But if we look at if you kind of add some fat on top of especially the legs, because women legs oftentimes have more fat, it would kind of smooth out smooth out the sort of deep creases with a little bit of fat. So these would probably be a little, flatter. Can we find some? Can we find some legs? Female legs. That's a risky, risky search. We can see the front, but we don't see the back. There it is. So what we see here is the sort of, well, yeah, it looks a little different. I don't know how to describe it, but I think looking at reference can give you the best idea on how you can change it to make it look more natural. We don't have this triangle shape. We have this sort of, I guess, trapezius shape, trapezoid shape. There you go. Yeah, that's the last thing that sort of jumps out to me when I look at this. Otherwise, it looks pretty good, especially when you add the clothing. Oftentimes, oftentimes characters can look kind of goofy, but once you add clothing to them, they look a lot better because the goofy parts can be covered by clothing. But yeah, just a few things you could consider changing to maybe make this a little bit better. But this already looks pretty good. So yeah, there you go. Hope these things were helpful. And that concludes, or that covers all the pieces that have been submitted. Oh, what is that? Oh, hold on, my camera. There you go. Okay. Valchrome posted during the stream, which means we're going to cover it at the beginning of the next stream. If you post your pieces when we already, when the feedback session began, we're going to cover them in the next feedback session, which would be in 2 weeks. It's always unfortunate, but rules are there to be reinforced. Yeah. So you're gonna be the first one. That gets feedback, except if somebody with a tier 2 membership post something. Okay. Yeah, but that covers all the pieces that I have been submitted. I think we're joining today's feedback session. As always, if you see this, if you want to watch this again later, or if you want to watch any streams later, you can go to, so this stream will be unlisted, but you can still see it on this channel. If you go to the playlist tab, there's a playlist past streams, and then all of the streams are going to be in there. I'm probably also going to upload this to the archive channel. So if you want to, wait until it's uploaded there, you can do that as well. Yeah. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, chatting, or just being here. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Maybe I'll see you next time. But until then, take care.